Society has sold you a story your entire life, and the men walking in quiet solitude have finally stopped listening. For decades, the blueprint was crystal clear. Happiness was a finish line, crossed only with a ring, a family, and a picture-perfect smile that never faltered under pressure. But a quiet revolution is unfolding. A growing number of men are stepping off that conveyor belt of expectations. They're not lost, they're found. And what they've discovered in the silence is rewriting everything we thought we knew about fulfillment, success, and what it truly means to live well. What if the path to a richer life isn't about adding someone to it, but about fully becoming yourself first? What if being alone isn't the problem, but the solution? There arrives a moment in every man's journey when silence becomes more valuable than company. When the relentless pressure to prove himself to women, to friends, to society fades into irrelevant background noise. Psychologists call this shift self-determination theory, but men who live it, they simply call it peace. It's that pivotal moment when he stops performing for approval and starts listening to his own inner voice. And that shift, it transforms everything. For generations, men absorb the same message. Fulfillment only arrives through relationships. Marriage, children, the house with the white picket fence. The happy wife, happy life philosophy became gospel. But today's men are awakening to a deeper truth. Happiness doesn't require permission from anyone else. A single man isn't wandering aimlessly. He's laser-focused. He's choosing clarity over chaos, solitude over shallow connections that drain his energy. And research backs this up. Men who consciously embrace periods of solitude often develop superior emotional regulation, heightened resilience, and a profound sense of purpose that partnership alone could never provide. When you strip away the constant noise and distractions, you finally discover yourself. You realize you don't need endless validation to feel alive. You don't need to be in love to feel whole. This isn't bitterness. Talking, it's awareness. A single man isn't running from love. He's avoiding distractions disguised as connection. He's no longer searching for someone to complete him because he's finally constructing a life that doesn't collapse when he's not chosen by someone else. So when you see a man walking alone, don't assume loneliness. He might just be experiencing something most people never will. Genuine peace. And for a man who's witnessed enough chaos, peace feels infinitely better than love ever did. Because intentional singlehood isn't isolation, it's evolution. It's the first clear sign that a man has stopped performing for others and started living authentically for himself. Section 1. There's a damaging narrative that's circulated for decades. If a man remains single, he must be terrified of commitment. He's labeled immature, emotionally damaged, or simply not ready to settle down. But here's the uncomfortable truth that challenges this narrative. Most single men aren't avoiding love. They're avoiding losing themselves. Psychology identifies this as self-preservation through autonomy, the fundamental human need to maintain personal identity and freedom, especially after experiences that blurred those essential boundaries. In simpler terms, once a man experiences what genuine peace feels like, he becomes unwilling to trade it for manufactured drama. He's not afraid of love itself. He's afraid of becoming invisible inside it, because too many men gave everything their time, unwavering loyalty, emotional energy, only to end up completely drained and utterly unrecognized. And once that pattern repeats a few times, something fundamental clicks inside him. He starts asking the hard questions. Why am I the only one trying? Why does love feel like a never-ending job interview? Why do I feel lonelier inside a relationship than when I'm actually alone? That's not fear speaking, that's hard-earned intelligence. That's a man who finally learned that emotional safety matters just as much as love itself. Research confirms that men who maintain healthy independence experience significantly lower chronic stress levels and report substantially higher long-term life satisfaction. Why? Because independence isn't selfishness, it's stability. A man who consciously chooses singlehood isn't running away from women or relationships. He's running toward himself, toward hobbies that energize him, fitness that grounds him, purpose that drives him, and peace of mind that sustains him. He's methodically building a life architecture that doesn't crumble when someone else decides to walk away. So the next time someone dismissively calls a single man afraid of commitment, remember this essential truth. It takes profound courage to walk your own path when the entire world insists you're supposed to be walking beside someone else. Because independence isn't the absence of love. It's the presence of self-respect. And men who choose that path, they're not weak. They're finally free. Section 2. Most people believe solitude weakens you. That if you spend too long alone, you'll lose touch with reality, become emotionally cold, detached, or somehow strange. But the truth is precisely the opposite. For men who consciously choose singlehood, solitude doesn't break them, builds them stronger than ever before. Psychologists describe this phenomenon as cognitive recalibration, a process where intentional time alone helps reset emotional balance, reduce stress hormones, and dramatically improve focus and decision-making ability. When a man spends meaningful time in silence, his mind starts processing and sorting through years of accumulated noise. He begins hearing thoughts that were drowned out by constant distraction and external demands. Suddenly, things crystallize. He sees clearly which habits drained his energy, which relationships suffocated his growth, and which dreams he buried just to keep others comfortable. Solitude doesn't trap a man. Inside his own mind, it clears the fog that's been clouding it. When you eliminate the need for constant external validation, your vision becomes remarkably sharp. You stop reacting impulsively to every opinion thrown your way and start trusting your own instinct and judgment. You begin realizing that your worth isn't measured by who texts you back or who validates your choices, but by how you treat yourself when absolutely no one is watching. A man who invests time in solitude learns how to think independently, how to make crucial decisions without emotional turbulence clouding his judgment. He becomes more emotionally aware, not less. He becomes calmer, sharper, more grounded in reality. That's precisely why so many single men today aren't drowning in depression, they're thriving in focused clarity. They're reading more books, training their bodies harder, building their futures quietly and deliberately. They've discovered what modern culture desperately tries to hide. Clarity feels infinitely better than chaos. The world keeps insisting men need to get back out there. But some men realize they don't need to go anywhere. They're already exactly where they need to be: present, aware, stable, and growing. A man who sits comfortably in silence for a sustained period starts understanding something powerful. Peace isn't boring. It's clarity disguised as calm. And once you reach that elevated level of inner peace, your standards for everything change forever. You stop craving attention and validation. You start craving alignment and authenticity. Because solitude isn't loneliness. It's a man's precious opportunity to meet himself again. And when he does, he's never the same person. He's clearer, stronger, and finally ready for life on his own terms. Section 3. There was a time when men were repeatedly told that love was supposed to be difficult, that real relationships came packaged with drama, jealousy, endless loyalty tests, and that if you truly cared, you'd fight through it all. But modern men are seeing through that toxic illusion. They've learned a fundamental truth. Emotional stability isn't boring, it's peaceful. And peace, once genuinely experienced, becomes absolutely non-negotiable. Contemporary psychology strongly supports this shift. Studies demonstrate that men who prioritize calm, stable environments over emotional turbulence are significantly less likely to suffer from burnout, anxiety disorders, or relationship fatigue. They understand that chaos might feel intensely passionate initially, but it eventually becomes completely exhausting and unsustainable. A man who's chosen singlehood isn't rejecting love entirely. He's rejecting the specific kind of love that drains his life force. He's finished with constant guessing games, manipulative silent treatments, and circular arguments that never reach resolution. He refuses to walk on eggshells just to keep someone else temporarily comfortable. He wants peace not because he's weak or emotionally stunted, but because he's learned firsthand what chronic stress costs him. When you've invested years trying to fix relationships that never wanted healing in the first place, you start craving stillness far more than manufactured excitement. And that's when singlehood transforms from a retreat into a recovery. A stable man recognizes that emotional chaos systematically kills focus, kills drive, kills creativity, and kills dreams. He's learned the hard way that you cannot build a meaningful, lasting life if your heart remains stuck in perpetual survival mode. So he starts guarding his peace like it's sacred, because it absolutely is. He stops engaging in pointless drama. He doesn't respond to manipulation tactics or guilt trips. He learns that walking away from toxicity isn't cold-hearted, it's profoundly wise. Society often labels men emotionally unavailable when they stop tolerating instability and chaos. But that label is fundamentally wrong. They've learned through painful experience that not every connection deserves unrestricted access to their hard-won peace. So when you observe a man who genuinely prefers quiet evenings over constant social noise, understand something. He's not lonely. He's healed. He's protecting his emotional equilibrium the way a soldier protects vital ground. Because once a man truly learns the critical difference between authentic love and emotional chaos disguised as passion, he'll never confuse the two again. He doesn't crave the fireworks anymore. He wants the profound calm that follows them. And that's what genuine maturity looks like, not walking away from love itself, but walking away from chaos, masquerading as its Section 4. Every man eventually faces a moment of profound realization that pursuing purpose gives him something romantic relationships never fully could: clear direction. Psychology calls this the intrinsic motivation shift, when a person begins deriving deep satisfaction from personal growth and achievement rather than external approval and validation. For men who choose to remain single, that shift becomes absolutely life-changing, because for years, men were conditioned to believe their value came exclusively from how well they could provide, protect, and please others. But when modern relationships started rewarding performative effort instead of genuine character, something fundamental broke. many men stopped chasing the exhausting idea of being good enough for someone else and started becoming extraordinary for themselves. They replaced dating apps with discipline, validation seeking with vision, emotional drama with laser focus, and something incredible happened. They started genuinely thriving. Single men often channel their emotional energy into goals that last far longer than temporary affection ever could. They build thriving businesses, transform their physical bodies, master valuable new skills, or travel the world on their own terms. They stop living according to borrowed timelines and societal expectations and start writing their own stories. Purpose gives them what modern dating culture rarely does: a genuine return on investment. When a man pours his energy into his craft, his growth compounds exponentially over time. When he pours that same precious energy into the wrong person, it evaporates without a trace. This isn't bitterness, it's emotional economics. Emotional energy is currency, and intelligent men learn exactly where to invest it. Research confirms that men with strong, clearly defined life purpose experience significantly lower depression rates, substantially higher self-esteem, and even longer life expectancy. Why? Because purpose anchors them firmly. It keeps them steady and grounded when the entire world tells them they're somehow missing out. But he's not missing out, he's leveling up. He's discovered meaning that doesn't depend on someone else's unpredictable mood swings or fleeting attention span. A man with purpose walks differently through the world. He doesn't chase desperately, he attracts naturally. He doesn't ask permission to pursue his dreams, he simply builds them. And when you notice that quiet confidence radiating from his eyes, that focused determination that doesn't require an audience or applause, you understand something simple but profound. He didn't choose to be single because he gave up on love entirely. Chose it because he found something more powerful, a compelling reason to wake up every single morning that doesn't disappear when someone decides to leave. That's what purpose gives a man. Not distraction, not temporary pleasure, but a lasting legacy. Every man eventually reaches that critical moment, the one where he asks himself honestly, do I really want love, or do I just want peace? If that question resonated with you, leave a comment below. You're not alone in feeling this way. Section 5. When a man chooses to remain single, people often assume he's simply not ready for responsibility. But the truth is precisely the opposite. Single men often carry far more responsibility for themselves than anyone gives them credit for. They become the architects of their own daily routines, the managers of their own complex emotions, the builders of their own unshakable discipline, and over time, that self-imposed structure reshapes them completely from the inside out. Psychologists call this process emotional regulation through autonomy. When people gain genuine mastery over their emotions because they no longer depend on external validation to feel internally stable. For single men, it's a quiet transformation that happens beneath the surface. Away from public view, they stop reacting impulsively to triggers. They stop needing instant gratification for temporary satisfaction. They stop chasing short-term highs that inevitably leave long-term emptiness. Instead, they learn the art of delayed gratification to find deep fulfillment in consistency rather than chaos. When he trains his body, it's not for attention or approval, it's for endurance and longevity. when he works late into the night on his projects. It's not for applause, it's for meaningful progress. And when he deliberately turns down empty social noise, it's not from arrogance, it's from awareness. Solitude forces a man to directly confront his own mind and make genuine peace with it. He becomes brutally honest about his habits, his weaknesses, and his behavioral patterns. Without distraction, he starts holding himself accountable to higher standards. And that's when self-control transforms from forced willpower into second nature. In relationships, emotional regulation often gets constantly tested by comparison, expectation, and external pressure. In solitude, it gets refined and strengthened. He learns to observe situations before reacting, to think carefully before speaking, to let go before breaking entirely. Science strongly supports this. Men who spend intentional, structured time alone develop significantly higher impulse control, better sustained focus, and improved resilience under stress. They're far less likely to depend on substances, external validation, or others' approval for emotional stability, because a man who learns to master himself doesn't need to control anyone else. You can observe it in the way he carries himself: calm, deliberate, purposeful. He's not trying to impress anyone anymore. He's grounded in his own natural rhythm, and that kind of control isn't about emotional suppression, it's about peace. He's not emotionless or cold. He's emotionally efficient. He feels deeply, but he refuses to let fleeting feelings derail his long-term vision. He still genuinely wants connection, but not at the cost of losing his hard-won composure. Because once a man truly learns emotional discipline, chaos stops being attractive or exciting. He doesn't crave the chase, the drama, or the adrenaline anymore. He craves balance and stability. And that's what authentic strength looks like. Not control over others, but complete mastery over oneself. Section 6. Most people still firmly believe that being single equals loneliness, stress, and sadness. But science tells a completely different story. Men who consciously choose singlehood often experience significantly lower stress levels, better quality sleep, and stronger overall mental health than men trapped in unhappy, dysfunctional relationships. And it makes perfect sense. When a man no longer feels obligated to constantly prove his worth, defend every choice, or manage someone else's unpredictable emotions 24/7, his nervous system finally gets to rest and recover. He's not waking up to arguments or tension. He's not second-guessing text messages or walking through emotional minefields daily. He's not draining himself trying to fix problems that were never his fault to begin with. Instead, he wakes up in complete control of his own peace. He eats better, works out more consistently, and invests his time in activities that genuinely recharge him instead of depleting his energy reserves. He's not trying to merely survive love anymore. He's learning to thrive in calmness. Psychologists describe this state as homeostatic stability condition, where your body and mind exist in natural harmony because there's no external chaos constantly pulling you off balance. When a man lives alone with clarity and structure, his stress hormones regulate naturally. His focus sharpens noticeably. His patience grows. His mood stabilizes. And it's not just about mental health, it's physical to lower. Chronic stress translates directly to healthier blood pressure, better cardiovascular health, and increased life expectancy. Single men who live purposefully and intentionally tend to have stronger immune systems and recover faster from emotional setbacks. But here's the deeper truth most people miss. Peace rewires the entire mind. When chaos finally stops, creativity naturally starts flowing. When stress fades, gratitude grows organically. He starts noticing small things again: the soothing sound of rain, the satisfaction of completing a challenging workout, the simple taste of food prepared just for himself. This is what most people fundamentally misunderstand. Being single doesn't automatically mean being isolated or cut off. It can mean emotionally regulated. It means your emotions remain steady and predictable. Your mornings are calm. Your nights are quiet, not empty, but peacefully calm. And calm is profoundly healing. When you systematically remove sources of constant stress from your life, your mind becomes your greatest ally again, instead of your worst enemy. You stop overthinking every interaction. You stop over-explaining your choices. You just live authentically. So while the world keeps asking, "Aren't you lonely?" the truth is, he's probably healthier, mentally, emotionally, and physically than he's ever been. Because sometimes the real medicine isn't found in romantic love. It's discovered in silence, balance, and self-control. He's not escaping relationships, he's escaping the chronic stress that made him forget who he truly was. And when you watch him move through life, now steady, unbothered, strong, you realize something powerful. A peaceful man doesn't need saving. He's already healed himself. Section 7.1 of the most misunderstood truths about single men is this: they're not isolated, they're selective. They're not cutting people off randomly. They're strategically cutting off energy-draining distractions. And once they do, something surprising happens. Their friendships start deepening in ways they never experienced before. Psychologists call this authentic social bonding, where relationships are built not from desperate need or loneliness, but from genuine choice and mutual respect. When a man no longer seeks validation exclusively through romance, he starts investing that same emotional energy into real, meaningful connections. Friends who genuinely respect his time, who listen without judgment, who share his core values and drive. Single men often form what researchers describe as high-quality peer networks, smaller circles, perhaps, but with significantly stronger trust and deeper bonds. Because when your peace becomes your top priority, your social circle naturally shrinks to match your evolved mindset. He stops wasting weekends trying to impress someone who barely cares about him, and instead shares meaningful moments with people who genuinely inspire and challenge him. He hikes, lifts weights, builds projects, and has real conversations, for attention or validation, but for authentic connection and growth. He's no longer performing for affection. He's participating fully in life. And here's the quiet benefit that often goes unnoticed: freedom. Men in complete control of their own time get to live without compromise. They can take spontaneous trips, work late on passion projects, train early in the morning, pursue dreams that matter without anyone calling it selfish or inconsiderate. Because when you're single and intentional, your life becomes yours again. Fully and unapologetically, social freedom is criminally underrated. It's the ability to move through the world without walking on emotional eggshells, to meet new people without pressure or expectation, to connect deeply without fear of rejection or harsh judgment. That freedom breeds authenticity. When a man isn't trying to impress anyone, his guard naturally drops. He becomes more genuine, more curious, more open-minded and present. And that's when true friendships, the kind built on mutual respect, shared laughter, and genuine growth, begin to flourish organically. Research confirms that men who maintain active, positive social lives even without romantic relationships support significantly higher happiness levels and lower loneliness scores than those trapped in high-conflict romantic relationships. Because loneliness isn't the absence of people around you. It's the absence of genuine connection. And single men who live intentionally are often more deeply connected than ever to others, to their passions, to their sense of purpose and freedom. So no, he's not all alone in some tragic sense. He's surrounded by purpose, by friends who genuinely matter, by moments that feel real and meaningful. He's no longer chasing love that costs him his peace. He's cultivating a life that gives him both joy and freedom simultaneously. Because the truth is this: when a man stops needing people to complete him, that's precisely when he finally attracts people who genuinely complement him. Section 8. When a man chooses to be single intentionally, something profound happens beneath the surface. The mirror finally clears. For the first time, possibly ever, he starts seeing himself without the distorting fog of performance anxiety, without the constant pressure to please others, without the relentless noise of someone else's expectations clouding his self-perception. And what he discovers in that quiet, honest space is powerful. Genuine self-awareness. Psychologists define self-awareness as the ability to recognize your own emotions, underlying motives, and behavior patterns, to adjust them consciously and deliberately. Most people never fully develop this capacity because they're always reacting to others, always performing, always seeking external approval. But single men, especially those who embrace solitude intentionally rather than circumstantially, have the mental space and time to actually understand themselves at a fundamental level. They notice their emotional triggers, their genuine strengths, their real weaknesses. They identify what authentically fulfills them versus what merely distracts them temporarily. They start asking questions most people actively avoid. Why do I respond this way? What am I really afraid of? What do I truly want from life, not what others want for me? It's not easy work. It requires radical honesty, consistent discipline, and deep reflection. But that's precisely what genuine emotional intelligence is built upon. Emotional intelligence isn't about suppressing feelings or appearing stoic. It's about understanding your emotions deeply, then responding with clarity instead of reactive impulse. And single men free from constant emotional chaos and manufactured drama get to practice this essential skill every single day. Instead of chasing external validation endlessly, they turn inward. They learn to regulate their own emotions without needing someone else to constantly soothe or validate them. They understand how to calm themselves after stress, how to forgive themselves after failure, and how to stand firm when life tests their resolve. Studies in behavioral psychology demonstrate that people who spend regular, intentional time alone develop significantly better empathy, emotional regulation, and problem-solving skills. Why? Because you cannot understand others deeply until you've first understood yourself thoroughly. So the man who consciously chooses singledom isn't emotionally stunted or damaged. He's emotionally evolving and maturing. He's learning to love without unhealthy dependency, to care without controlling, to feel deeply without fear of abandonment. He's systematically dismantling the version of himself that once acted primarily from insecurity or desperation, and rebuilding one firmly grounded in awareness and truth. And when you observe him now, calm, measured, patient, present, it's not emotional detachment, it's hard-won mastery. He's learned to communicate more effectively, to listen more deeply, to remain calm when others overreact emotionally. He's no longer addicted to the chaos that once made him feel intensely alive. He's found genuine aliveness in stability, in stillness, in self-respect. Because once a man becomes truly emotionally intelligent, his entire energy changes fundamentally. He no longer chases desperately, he chooses carefully. And he chooses peace every single time. Self-awareness isn't a luxury, it's freedom. And that's what intentional singlehood quietly gives a man: a mirror, a moment, and the maturity to finally know who he truly is. Section 9. For generations, men were told exactly what success should look like. Graduate, get the job, buy the house, find the wife, raise the kids. Then maybe, eventually, you get to be happy. But modern men are rewriting that restrictive script entirely. They've realized something genuinely revolutionary. Happiness doesn't have to wait for marriage, approval, or anyone else's validation. Psychologists call this self-defined fulfillment, the ability to construct your own authentic version of meaning and success instead of passively inheriting one from society or family expectations. And for single men, it's the quiet foundation of their unshakable peace. Because the truth is this: a man who no longer measures success by comparison to others becomes unstoppable. He's no longer chasing someone else's dream or living someone else's timeline. He's crafting his own. He might live in a modest studio apartment instead of a sprawling house, but it's his space. Calm, organized, and peaceful. He might drive an older car, but it takes him everywhere he truly wants to go. He might not have a partner beside him, but he has purpose within him, and that's a form of love no one can take away. Men who stay single by conscious choice understand that life isn't a competition or race. It's a canvas, and every decision they make paints another stroke of freedom. They take genuine pride in small victories, waking early consistently, keeping promises to themselves, growing stronger physically and mentally. They've learned that discipline brings far more lasting satisfaction than drama ever did. They're not anti-love, they're pro-peace. They're not rejecting connection, they're rejecting confusion and chaos. And that difference matters profoundly. Happiness for them no longer looks like constant excitement or external validation. It looks like quiet mornings, clean, organized spaces, steady progress, and a heart that finally feels at ease. They've stopped needing to prove their worth through relationships or material possessions because they found a deeper kind of wealth. Self-respect. True success isn't about applause or recognition. It's about alignment. It's waking up without dread, walking through your day with clear purpose, and going to sleep knowing you didn't betray your own peace just to please others or meet their expectations. Society might still whisper that something's missing from their lives, but that's because most people simply cannot comprehend. A man who's genuinely content without external validation. A man who found happiness not in being chosen by someone else, but in choosing himself first. He's not rebelling against society, he's redefining success on his own terms. He's living proof that singlehood, when chosen with clarity and intention, is not an absence of love. It's the presence of freedom, discipline, and purpose. Because at the end of the day, success isn't about having it all. It's about having enough and being enough. And that's what men who choose to stay single have finally realized. Peace isn't a prize you win. It's a practice you commit to. Happiness isn't given. It's built, and they're building it one quiet, powerful day at a time. If you made it this far, it's probably because a part of you already knows the truth deep down. You're not broken for walking alone. You're just done walking in circles. You've outgrown chaos. You've outgrown noise and drama. And now you're learning what most people never do. That peace doesn't mean you stopped caring about others. It means you finally started caring about yourself. If this spoke to you, take a second. Drop a comment below. Not for the algorithm. Not for me, but as a reminder to yourself that you chose calm over chaos, purpose over pressure, peace over performance. Because one day, the world will finally understand. Men didn't give up on love. They just stopped giving up themselves for it. And if that's you, you're not alone. You're just finally free.